Hi everyone, I am here with a review of Lesson 2, and this is for viola players. So you guys get your own video this week. I felt bad giving you a video with a violin in it last week, so I actually do have a viola right now. And if you don't have your instrument out, you can pause the video and go grab it. We're actually going to play through some of our homework right now. So I have up on the screen here page 5 from the lesson book. Everyone should either have a lesson book or a photocopy of page 5 that I gave you this week in your lesson. And the great thing about this book is that on the top it always says what's new for the week on that page. So everything else should kind of be like a review, and then the what's new section shows you what to look out for, the things we haven't seen before. So over here on the left it says new note, open G string. The nice thing is that this is just a new note to read. We've played this note before. So remember when we first started playing viola in our first lesson, we had our strings A, D, G, and C. This G is the G that they're talking about for the new note. I'm just going to back up here because the viola is a little bit bigger than the violin I just used. There we go. We also have over here a repeat sign, and I bet this is not new for most of you. In music class, I bet most of you have learned that a repeat sign means when you see it at the end with those two dots, go back and play whatever you just played again. So when we see that in the lesson book, we're going to go back to the beginning of that line and play it again. So I'm looking at 3-string dance right now, number 5. You can follow along with me up here, and what we're going to do is go through and read the note names, and then we'll play it. So right now, read the note names out loud with me at home. Here I go. D, 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 G, 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 D, 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 A, rest. A, D, 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 A, D, D, G, 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 rest. Great, so if you got that, we're going to move on and start playing it. If you didn't get it, that's okay. Just go back in the video and watch that part again and read through it. It's really important that you are comfortable with reading all of these notes so that you can just see it and say, that's a D, I know that, okay? So I'm going to put my viola up. Remember, it's on your shoulder. You're going to give your head a nice little tilt to the left. Remember, you want to look awkward in any way. It's just kind of there on your shoulder, nice and relaxed. Your right hand does the plucking. We're going to make an L, put it up against the fingerboard, wiggle that index finger, place it on the D string. That's your first note. And here we go. D, 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 G, 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 D, 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 A, rest. A, D, 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 A, D, G, rest. Great, so if you got that, we're going to move on. Again, if you didn't get it, that's okay. Just back it up and do it again. The great thing about using a video is that you can play through it as many times as you need to until you feel like you're really solid on it. So if you need to go back and do it again, that's all right. But if you got that, you can move on with me. We're looking at number 6, recover the bow. Now, people tend to get a little bit nervous when they see recover the bow because we're not using our bow yet. And that's okay. You can still play this. We're just going to do it pizzicato with plucking, and that's okay. Some of these symbols on the top are bowing directions, and we'll learn about that when we use our bow. Thank you for being patient on waiting to use the bow. We're just going to right now go ahead and read through the notes. Ignore those symbols on top. We will get to those before you know it. So here we go. Oh, by the way, number 6, at the end of the line, you see there's a nice repeat sign back there. So when we get to the end, we're going to pop back to the front and keep going. Here we go. A, rest. D, D, rest. A, D, G, G, rest. D, D, rest. G, rest. D, A, D, rest. A, rest. D, rest. A, D, G, rest. D, rest. G, rest. D, A, D, rest. Great. So we're going to play through this one. This one starts on A. We've been starting most of ours on D, so don't let that one trick you. When we set our index finger down on a string, we're going to set it on the A string this time. So here we go, number 6. A, rest. D, 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 rest. A, D, D, G, 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 rest. D, 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 rest. G, 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 rest. D, D, A, D, 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 and again. A, rest. D, 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 rest. A, D, D, G, 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 rest. D, 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 rest. G, 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 rest. D, D, A, D, D, rest. Nice job. So here's the good thing. If you can do number 5 and 6, then you can do the rest of the page. The rest of the page is the same sort of stuff, just in different orders. I'm just going to show you one thing on number 9. We're not going to play it, but I'll just show you real quick here. Number 9 is a 2-liner. So it's 2 lines of music. There isn't a repeat sign in this one, but a lot of people, when they get to the end of the first line, they kind of stop for a minute and there's like an awkward pause and then they go to the second line. But playing music is just like reading. When you get to the end of the line, you just pop right down to the next line. You keep going. So if you check out where my mouse is on this D, if I was playing from there, I would go D, rest, A. So I would keep going right to the next line. The other thing that we learned in our lesson this week was the beginning of Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. I'm going to review that right now. Let me just get it up on the screen. These are the note names. We didn't really work on reading the notes. We will soon, but we didn't really need to worry about that for this week. Now, you'll see that there is a new note in there, B. That's not an open string name, so that's a note that we're going to have to make using our fingers on our left hand. So before we play Twinkle, let me go over how to do that. So when you play a note, this is with your left hand, your thumb is going to rest right up against the neck of the instrument right here, nice and relaxed. You don't want it sticking up, giving a thumbs up. You just want it right here like this. And your index finger, your pointer finger, which we call finger number 1, is going to be on the A string. And everyone should have a sticker on the A string, a yellow sticker. That's going to show you in line where that place that finger should be on the A string. So I'm taking my index finger, I'm placing it on the A string. It's very important that you use the tip of your finger, not the pad of your finger. That's going to be even more important this week when we learn more new notes. So using that tip of your index finger. Now if I play the string without my finger being down, it sounds like this, and that is the pitch A. If I put my finger down in that spot, it should sound like this. That is the pitch B. If yours doesn't sound like that, just take a look. Make sure you're on the A string and that you're in line with that yellow dot. So we have A, and put it down for B. Take it off for A, put it down for B. So when you play Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, we're going to pop over to the D string. We're going to play D, D, then move to the A string. A, still on the A string, but put one finger down for B. B, B, then take that finger off and play A. So one more time, a little bit more fluid through that. It's D, D, A, B, B, and A. So those are the 2 things that we worked on in our lesson last week and what you should know for when you come to your next lesson this week. So take some time to read through page 5, make sure you know all of those, and to perfect that beginning of Twinkle Twinkle. We're going to learn a lot of new things in lesson 3 this week, and I'm looking forward to seeing everybody soon. Happy practicing.